The Battle of Ko Chang took place on 17 January 1941 during the Franco-Thai War and resulted in a victory by the French Navy over the Royal Thai Navy. During the battle, a flotilla of French warships attacked a smaller force of Thai vessels, including a coastal defense ship. In the end, 2 Thai ships were sunk and 1 was heavily damaged. Within a month of the engagement, the Vichy French and the Thais negotiated a peace which ended the war. Background situation: the Franco-Thai War was going quite poorly for the French land forces, who were ill-equipped to deal with the larger Thai army. The French Governor-General of Indochina and Commander-in-Chief Naval Forces, Admiral Jean Decoux, decided Indochina's best chance at stopping the incursions would be attempt a naval attack on the Thailand's fleet and coastal cities. This would clear the way for bombardment missions to support a counter-offensive along the Cambodian frontier. Thai Navy: although comparatively small, the Royal Thai Navy had been modernized with the recent acquisition of vessels from both Japan and Italy. The major units of the fleet included 2 Japanese-built armored coast defense vessels, which displaced 2,500 long tons and carried 8-inch guns. 2 older British-built armored gunboats with 6-inch guns, 12 torpedo boats, and 4 submarines. In addition, the Royal Thai Air Force had in its inventory over 140 aircraft, including relatively modern Mitsubishi Ki-30 light bombers, which saw extensive service against the French during the war. These aircraft were quite capable of causing severe damage to any French naval mission which might be mounted. Other less capable aircraft in the Thai inventory included P-36 Hawk fighters, 70 Transporter 2U-2 Corsair biplanes, 6 Martin B-10 bombers, and several Avro 504 trainers. French Navy Admiral Jean Decoux formed a small squadron called the Groupe Occasional on 9 December 1940 at Cam Ranh Bay, north of Saigon. In command he placed Capitaine de Vaisseau R.E. Acute Gis Berenger. The squadron consisted of the light cruiser La Motte Piquet, the Avassis Dumont d'Urville and Amiral Chana, and the older Avassis Tahuari and Marne. There was no air cover, except for 9 Loire 130 seaplanes based at Rim, which provided reconnaissance. Additional scouting was done by 3 coastal survey craft, and intelligence gleaned from local fishermen. Berenger's squadron began training maneuvers in Cam Ranh Bay shortly after assembling. On 13 January 1941, Admiral Decoux formally requested that Berenger lead the squadron against the Thai Navy to support a land offensive planned for 16 January. The land action was meant to force back the Thai ground forces that had been advancing along the coast. Because of the disparate speeds of the French ships, Berenger sent the slower sloops on ahead, while he remained in Saigon to complete the final elements of the plan. Several options were being prepared, the Admiralty in France having given its approval to use naval forces to support the army. The final planning meeting on 13 January saw an immediate delay in the execution for 24 hours. Once the plans were completed, Berenger sailed in La Motte Piquet. The delay in starting the operation allowed him to refuel at Cape Street, Jacques before his rendezvous with the slower ships at 1600 on 15 January 20 mi north of Polo Condor. Admiral Decoux's orders were simple: attack the Siamese coastal cities from Rayong to the Cambodian frontier to force Siamese government to withdraw its forces from the Cambodian frontier. On the evening of 15 January, following a last conference on board the flagship, the squadron weighed anchor at 21:15 and closed the Thai coast at 14 knots, the top speed of the sloops. The French ships remained undetected as they entered the Gulf of Siam, but their quarry was not as fortunate. The Loire 130s from Rheims had completed a sweep of the coast from Trat to Sattahip. They had located 1 coast defense ship and 1 torpedo boat at Ko Chang, and 1 gunboat, 4 torpedo boats, and 2 submarines at Sattahip. Their report was forwarded to Marine headquarters in Saigon, who retransmitted it to La Motte Piquet. Berenger considered his options and decided on a dawn attack against the Thai ships at Ko Chang. He ignored Sattahip because the sloops would not be able to reach it until later in the day, when the element of surprise would already have been lost. Also, the strength of Sattahip's harbour defences was unknown. The Thai naval force at Ko Chang was weaker and thus offered a better chance of victory. Berenger decided to approach Ko Chang at dawn from the southwest. Because the anchorage was surrounded by islands and islets, many over 200 meters high, the squadron would separate and use the cover of the islands to concentrate fire on portions of the Thai squadron, while also covering all the avenues of escape. The easternmost channel was the most likely route by which a breakout would be made. It was the most suitable route and where the reconnaissance had placed the largest Thai ships. La Motte Pickett would head to the eastern side of the anchorage to block the route, while the sloops blocked the center and pounded the Thai ships there. The smaller French ships would concentrate to the west. Battle. The French squadron closed on the anchorage at 5:30 on the 17th of January. At 5:45, they split into the three groups as planned, the La Motte Pickett heading for the eastern part of the anchorage, Dumont d'Urville and Amiral Chana continuing to the central position, and the Tahurian Marne heading for the western side. Conditions were perfect. The weather was fine, the seas calm and almost flat. Sunrise was at 6:30, and the scene was lit only by the first rays of light on the horizon and by the dim moonlight. A final aerial reconnaissance of the target area had been arranged using one of the Rheims-based Loire 130s. La Motte Pickett carried two such aircraft, but these could not be launched due to catapult problems. At 6:05, the Loire 130 overflew the anchorage and reported two torpedo boats. This came as a nasty surprise to the French. Previous reports led them to believe that only one was present, but during the night HTMS Chobri had arrived to relieve Chantaburi, which was to return to Sattahip later that day for repairs. Once their presence had been past La Motte Pickett, the aircraft attempted a bombing attack, but were driven off by a heavy barrage of anti-aircraft fire. The effect of this mission was double-edged. The French were now aware of what they faced, but the element of surprise had been wasted and 30 minutes remained until sunrise. Caught with their crews asleep, the Thai ships desperately began to raise steam and prepared to slip their anchors. However, both torpedo boats were soon sunk by heavy gunfire from La Motte Pickett. The cruiser also destroyed a shore observation post, preventing the Thai from quickly relaying information to air forces at Chantaburi. At 6:38, lookouts on La Motte Pickett spotted the coastal defense ship HTMS Thornbury heading northwest, at a range of 10,000 meters. A running battle began, with the fire of both ships frequently blocked by the towering islets. The fire from the Thai ship was heavy, but inaccurate. By 7:15, fires could be seen on Thornbury, which then found herself engaged not only by the cruiser but also the sloops. At the beginning of the engagement, a lucky shot from La Motte Pickett killed the captain of Thornbury, Commander Luang from Verafin. Ing disrupted her operations. Believing they had a better chance of hurting the smaller French ships, the Thais shifted their fire onto Admiral Chana, which soon found 8-inch salvos falling around her. Thornbury shifted fire back to La Motte Pickett after a salvo from the French cruiser put her aft turret out of action. She soon reached the safety of shallow water, which the French ships could not enter for fear of grounding. But Thornbury was already burning fiercely and listing heavily to starboard. Her remaining turret was jammed and could not fire unless the maneuvers of the ship put it in an appropriate position. At 7:50, La Motte Pickett fired a final salvo of torpedoes at 15,000 meters, but lost sight of Thornbury behind an island from which she was not seen to emerge. At 8:40, Berenger ordered the squadron to head for home, but this coincided with the start of the expected Thai air attacks. Thai planes dropped several bombs close to La Motte Picket and scored one direct hit. However, the bomb failed to explode. La Motte Picket's anti-aircraft guns put up a vigorous barrage and further attacks were not pressed home. The final raid occurred at 9:40, after which the French squadron returned to Saigon. Aftermath. The French left behind them a scene of total devastation. Thornbury was heavily damaged and grounded on a sandbar in the mouth of the Chonthaburi River, near with about 20 dead. The Thai transport HTMS Chang arrived at Ko Chang shortly after the French departed and took Thornbury in tow, before purposely running her aground again in Laemgop. The ship capsized in the shallow waters. The torpedo boat Chobri was sunk with a loss of 2 men, as was HTMS Songkhla with 14 dead. The survivors were rescued by the torpedo boat HTMS Ryong, the mine layer HTMS Nhong Sahai, and the fishery protection vessel Thieu Uthok. These 3 ships, which had been sheltering to the north of Ko Chang, wisely chose not to break cover and were not spotted by the French. On the other hand, the French sailors were elated, believing they had inflicted a defeat as decisive in its way as the Japanese at Tsushima, and had not suffered losses of significance. Their success is all the more notable when the difficulties of navigating and fighting in such confined waters are considered, and given the courage and tenacity which the Thai sailors exhibited during the action, a fact the French acknowledged in a Saigon radio broadcast. The French would never have the time to fully capitalize on their success. Fearing that any further action by the French would turn back the Thai invasion, the Japanese government offered to mediate a peaceful settlement. The agreement ultimately confirmed the Thai annexations of the territory they had lost to France earlier in the 19th century. Even this interim of peace did not last long, as the Japanese army invaded Thailand in December of that year as part of its attempt to capture British Malaya. At the conclusion of World War II, Thailand was forced to return all of its short-lived gains to French Indochina. Thornbury was later raised by the Royal Thai Navy. She was repaired in Japan and was used as a training ship until she was finally decommissioned. Her guns and deck are preserved as a memorial at the Royal Thai Naval Academy at Samut Prakan. During the post-action investigations, the Thai Navy claimed, based on statements by Thai sailors and the fishermen around Ko Chang and merchantmen in Saigon, that heavy damage was seen to have been caused to La Motte Picket and her squadron. The report claimed the crew of La Motte Picket spent all of the following night repairing the damage. Such claims are not reflected in any French documentation, nor in the ship's logs.